Okay, let's dive into this. Do you remember the very first time it happened to you? Like that soft whisper or maybe the gentle tapping, and suddenly, bam, that incredible electric shimmer just spreads across your scalp and melts all the way down your neck. Literal magic, right? So naturally, you come back the next night and the next. But then, somewhere along the way, those tingles just kind of start getting quieter. The rush isn't quite as intense, and eventually, they might even stop altogether. If you're watching this explainer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Today, we're unpacking the actual biological science of fading ASMR tingles, and way more importantly, how we can actually bring them back. When that sensation starts to fade, it's so common for this tiny, nagging, worried thought to creep into your mind. You start asking yourself, wait, is it gone forever? Did I literally just use up my lifetime quota of tingles? Am I completely broken? Honestly, it can be surprisingly stressful to lose something that used to bring you so much peace. So what do? We desperately start clicking through a million different triggers, just trying to force that feeling to come back, which, let's be real, usually only makes the anxiety worse. Well, I want to give you some immediate, profound psychological relief right here, right now. You are absolutely not broken. Nothing is used up. What you're experiencing is definitely not a malfunction in your brain. Actually, those fading tingles are a sign of a perfectly functioning, incredibly healthy nervous system. Seriously, today we're going to look at some of the absolute most solid science in all of neuroscience to prove to you that your capacity to feel those shimmers is perfectly intact. Section 1. What is actually happening? To really get to the bottom of this, we need to step back from our own personal worries and look at the formal science. We've got to validate what you're feeling by looking at the actual biological mechanism behind your fading response. Now, if you spend any time scrolling through forums or comment sections, you've probably seen people throwing around the term ASMR immunity. And wow, it sounds terrifying, doesn't it? It sounds like this permanent disease or some incurable condition. But guys, that is just an internet myth. We need to toss out that scary casual term and replace it with the precise established scientific reality: habituation. Habituation is the real culprit here, and understanding this one word is literally the key to getting your tingles back. So what exactly is habituation? Well, it's actually one of the most fundamental forms of learning on the entire planet. It's this beautiful, elegant, evolutionary mechanism that you'll find across the whole animal kingdom. We are talking about everything from tiny little sea slugs all the way up to highly complex humans like us. Basically, when your nervous system is exposed to the exact same stimulus over and over again, your brain eventually figures out, hey, this is completely harmless and totally predictable, and it just gradually stops responding to it. Why? Because your brain is incredibly efficient. It wants to filter out the familiar stuff so it can save all its precious energy and attention for totally new, potentially important information. And this brilliantly illustrates just how common this really is. You literally experience habituation every single day. Think about it. When you first throw your clothes on in the morning, you can feel the fabric against your skin, right? But within minutes, you completely stop noticing it. Or imagine walking into a room with a really loud ticking clock. At first, it is all you can hear, but give it a bit and you completely tune it out. That's just your brain being super efficient. And this applies perfectly to ASMR. A landmark 2015 study in the journal PeerJ by researchers Barrett and Davis explicitly noted that people can and absolutely do become habituated to triggers from ASMR media they've already viewed. So it's a known biological feature, definitely not a bug. Section 2. The 3 rules of habituation. You see, habituation isn't just some vague idea. It's a heavily studied biological process. Back in 2009, a group of leading neuroscientists led by Rankin published a massive consensus paper in the journal Neurobiology of Learning and Memory. They formally laid out the official characteristics or rules of habituation, and knowing these 3 specific rules is going to completely change how you approach watching ASMR. Rule number 1 is spontaneous recovery. Honestly, this is probably the best news you're going to hear all day. The science shows that if you simply rest, literally just stop presenting the stimulus to your nervous system for a little bit, the response will come back entirely on its own. You don't have to force anything. Just by taking a break, your nervous system naturally resets its own sensitivity. Okay, rule number 2 is stimulus specificity, and this should make you feel so much better. Your brain only habituates to the very particular stimulus it's been overexposed to, not to the whole category. So no, you haven't become immune to the entire concept of ASMR. Actually, scratch that. It's more like you've just habituated to that one specific creator, or that exact tapping sound, or, that one particular video you've had on loop every night for a month. Your brain just got a little bored of that specific input. And rule number 3 is where things get really fun. dishabituation. This is the amazing fact that introducing a totally new or even just notably different stimulus can instantly restore your responsiveness. Pure biology dictates that novelty resets the system. So if you change up the input, your brain basically goes, oh, wait a second, this is new. I really need to pay attention to this. And bam, it floods your system with those shimmers all over again.
Moving on to Section 3, why ASMR fades faster.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is why ASMR videos seem to lose their magic so much faster than other things we enjoy. It really comes down to the core nature of what triggers a tingle in the first place. ASMR relies so heavily on your brain's reward and attention system, responding to something that is gentle, personal, and just a little bit unpredictable. I mean, if you watch the exact same cranial nerve exam roleplay 50 times, that element of surprise is totally dead. You already know exactly when they're going to ask you to follow the light. But, and this is super important, the underlying mechanics inside you are completely fine. Multiple studies published in PLOS One in 2018 and 2022 prove that for responders, the calming physiology remains totally reliable even when people report their tingles fading. Plus, a super fascinating 2025 study in Scientific Reports linked tingle intensity directly to your baseline sensitivity to gentle, affectionate touch. The takeaway? Your physical capacity is totally intact. But things like watching something way too predictable, being stressed out, or even just half watching while scrolling on your phone, all of that can temporarily mute your sensitivity. All right, let's get practical. Section 4, the science-based reset protocol. So, we've got the theory down. We know your brain isn't broken. It's just being super efficient. Now let's pivot from the science theory to a really empowering, actionable plan. We're going to use these exact biological rules to basically hack your nervous system and get your tingles back tonight. Think of this as your biological toolkit. Step 1, take a real break. This leverages that spontaneous recovery we talked about. Resting from ASMR for a few days or maybe up to a couple weeks lets your sensitivity rebuild. Honestly, it's the single most effective reset. Step 2, chase novelty on purpose. Leverage dishabituation by actively seeking out triggers you rarely or literally never use. Step 3, rotate, don't repeat. Keep a rotating library of a bunch of different creators and styles so your brain never gets too comfortable with just one. Step 4, rebuild the viewing conditions. Put the phone down, put on some good headphones, dim the lights, and give the session your unhurried, totally undivided attention for at least 10 to 15 minutes. And finally, step 5, be patient with the rebuild. Give this whole reset protocol a solid week before you decide whether or not it worked. But wait, I need to emphasize this final, absolutely crucial pro tip straight from the dishabituation science. When your break is finally over and you're ready to come back, do not, I repeat, do not return to your single most overwatched favorite video first. You've got to come back with a genuinely new stimulus. Why? Because that novel stimulus actually does double duty. First off, it triggers a strong response on its own just because it's new. But second, through the sheer magic of dishabituation, the shock of that new stimulus will actually temporarily reawaken your brain's responsiveness to your old favorites too. It is literally the ultimate neurohack. So if your tingles have faded lately, I want you to hear this loud and clear. You are perfectly fine. You've simply habituated, which is a totally normal, elegant, and completely reversible feature of your nervous system. Your capacity for that electric shimmer is super reliable, and it is still very much in there, just waiting for you. Remember, rest brings recovery, and novelty brings dishabituation. So I want to leave you with a question to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. Knowing that protecting your attention and exploring new sensations is the real key here, what novel, entirely unexpected trigger are you going to try next?